this afternoon, editor and publisher. Good afternoon, Bob.
Good afternoon again. Another, how would I call it? Another day that performed the way that it did because that's what your government wanted it to do. In the last 2 hours of trading, the gold and silver shares came back strongly. 80% of the time they're right. They're looking for a bottom here in both gold and silver. It may run over the next couple of days, but I think we're getting close. That's quite a correction. In a week, the silver's down, I don't know, I guess to 25%. And that is very unusual. And I think once the market knows it's got its bottom, I think you'll see silver run right back up again, as I explained on Monday. A lot of people were averaging in here, as Melody said. And hopefully I'll have the closes before we're off the year today on the stocks to give you an idea percentage-wise how they did. One of the things that really, really disturbed me, I wrote about it in today's issue, and it's been going on since last week. The Treasury Department was calling all of the commodity firms and other investment banking and brokerage firms that do commodities for others. And they told them they wanted them to recommend to their clients that they close all gold and silver and commodity positions. And I mentioned a few of them in there, but they also raised margin requirements double what CEM advised. They were asked to do that as well. So if the margin was $12,500, which is approximate, the margin in, say, Morgan Stanley and some of the other firms is $25,000. This is a definite, transparent attempt to rig the market. And, of course, these morons wanting to make that person in the White House and those other dingbats happy, they did that. And they started doing it around $44 on silver. And they were probably most instrumental in making prices go to the extent that they went to on the downside. And so not only were the regular government actions and the other players who normally are rigging markets, they hauled in all those characters as well. And this is what you have to put up with when you live in a corporate fascist society run by a bunch of Nazis, and that's exactly what they are. And you people are going to look back years from now, after this is all over, and we've had the opportunity to hang these people, you're going to say, gee, I really didn't believe when he was telling me that, but he sure was right. You know, I've lived over half the world, and I've lived in Europe for a long time. And I lived in Germany for a long time. And I know a Nazi when I see one. And our government, Wall Street, are full of them. They want virtually untaxed profits and free reign with no regulation, no antitrust laws. They want to do anything that they want to do. And as a result of that, they create monopolies. And because they become monopolies, and that's pointed out in Atlas Shrugged, if you want to read that book. The authoress was, what was her name? I can't think of it right now. But anyway, they want a monopoly situation for all of the major industries that will control government, that do control government presently. So you got to expect this stuff. Now, you either get it changed or you leave. And I don't know how you're going to get it changed. Hopefully, it'll be through the system. And one of the things you can do is write a letter to every senator and congressman, the exchanges, and the regulators, the SEC and the CFTC, and tell them you're sick and tired of the gold and silver market and the shares being manipulated and you want it stopped. That's all you got to say. I know that they're getting hundreds of letters every day in each entity. In some instances, over 1,000. And they know that the people are really mad. And after what we've just seen here, I can promise you they'll be getting a lot more. So it's up to you to email every representative and senator, the heads of the SEC and the CFTC and the exchanges. You got to let them know how you feel. And, the squeaky wheel gets grease. And I told you before, there's one case pending. How long it's going to take, I don't know, but I don't think it'll take too long because the complaint was made from connected parties. Let's just put it that way. And if it works out the way I think, there'll be a good benchmark to move forward with. But this naked shorting is rampant. And the government sponsors it. They say, go do that. We don't care. We just want gold and silver or gold and silver shares down. So that's your part. You can do that. If you don't do it, when they lead you off to the internment camp, you'll have nobody to blame but yourself. And you will say also, gee, he was right, I should have listened. As they line you up and shoot you because they don't know what to do with you and they don't want to feed you. Get real and get ready, because that's where you're headed. I do not have any questions today.
Well, you don't. Here's one.
So, Heffa.
Talking about this is in from Richard. He says on CNBC this morning, Soros sold his gold because the Fed is not going to deflate but inflate. What does he want? Worthless dollars? And he says,
say that again.
I saw it too this morning. They were saying that both Soros and these hedge funds are selling their gold and silver. But Richard said that Soros is selling his gold because the Fed is not going to deflate but inflate. So why does he want worthless dollars?
All right. First of all, George Soros sold 2 weeks ago. So any effect that it would have on the market is already into the market. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there were some sellers in hedge funds. But I don't believe there was any sellers to any great extent because I don't think, but for 1 or 2 hedge funds that I know of, they had any gold at all. I mean, they're the biggest shorters of gold and silver shares. We know that for a fact. So, big deal. George sold. He's not the only one in the world, and, it's ex post facto, after the fact. And, of course, once his business settled and everything, then he made a big announcement to knock the price down further.
Yeah.
He's probably buying in there today.
That's right.
But they're not going to tell you that, see?
Yep.
Criminals don't work that way. And, boy, he's really a criminal. I mean, this guy's been convicted and everything else in 2 jurisdictions. So it's a non-event because it's history. We want to know what's going to happen the next few days, the next few months.
You know what?
I just told you what I think he's doing. If he was a seller at 45 on silver, he's got to be a buyer at 39 or wherever.
Yep.
He's coming back in the market. He's a trader.
The way I look at it, Bob, is let's just say they did. I mean, look what little impact they had on the downside. I mean, really, when you look at the corrections and so forth, I mean, the pullback's really not that bad. I mean,
it's normal.
It's normal. And
it was created abnormally.
Yep.
And the pullback in gold is ridiculous. What was the high on gold? 15 what?
Oh, we were up there around 15.57. I mean, it's nothing.
And it's 15.15.
Yeah.
That's $40, maybe?
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yep.
And, it shows you that they had to give up using gold as a leader to get silver to go to the downside. It didn't work.
Yep. So it just also shows they're losing their ability to make the big impacts. And I figure, hey, if anybody sold on this little bit of a drop, it's just shaking out the weak guys. I mean, I've had some people who sold some silver and they traded up for gold, and that's okay. I mean, they have lots of it. They took advantage of, they bought it at $8 and they traded into gold. That's okay. That's a perfectly great trade, but nobody was selling because silver was going down. And so, the physical buyers, I mean, they're not selling physical. It's just all the paper stuff. But I think it's a great sign. I think it's great. It's showing that they're losing their ability to make any major impacts. Mexico bought 100 tons of gold. Who cares?
96.3. Yeah, they rounded it out. That's journalistic license. And I don't like that. I think that's wrong. In the next issue, I have the exact numbers. But what is important about that is that Mexico is a second-tier country. They're not like the United States or Europe as far as being a first, second, or third world country. They're still second, but they're doing very well, just like Canada is. And Canada is really not a first world country either, because they don't have the population and the GDP. They might think they do, but they don't. I mean, these are high numbers. And as a matter of fact, Mexico's probably got twice as many people as Canada has. But be as it may, Canada has no gold. And Mexico, I think, has 106 tons. Now, that is substantial. And you'll see in the article, all of you people who subscribe on Saturday, and the ones that are not subscribers, email, and we'll send you a copy. And you'll see the article. You don't have to go looking for it. Now, what's interesting to me here, and I don't know how much 96.3 tons cost. Well, I'll guess at probably about $40 billion. Now, they bought it, and I assume they paid for it in dollars. Mexico's government, it is not a fountain of wealth. there's been a good reason for that over the years. And the foreign exchange reserves in dollars of Mexico are around $95 billion. So they would have had spent, my numbers in my mind here are correct, half of their foreign exchange in the form of dollars. But the very fact that they did it, and they did it in such a big way for, a country that's got 100 million people, which is substantial, but it's certainly not the U.S. or Western Europe or whatever, or India or China. And so that is a very, very, very important event. And another thing, for years, one of our subscribers, what is his name? I can't think of it right now. And he owns a group of stores called Electra in Mexico. And in the back of every store they sell dividads, which are like silver eagles. They're 1-ounce coins. And quite frankly, for the last few years, they've been almost impossible to get. Because the minute they sell them, bingo, they're gone. And they've been trying to get the Assembly, which is like the House of Representatives, and the Senate to approve the backing of the Mexican peso at silver, because they're the second largest producer in the world. And there's going to be an election next November, and I think that PRI, will win the election. They already control the House and the Senate. And I think they will pass something like that. I really do. And so that point is very significant, especially coming under the PAN party, PAN. Very, very surprising. And so it's significant. I can't tell you how significant it is because it's giant. And I hope everybody realizes that. Gosh, I can't think of that guy's name. He's a super guy. I'm embarrassed. And I know it like my own name, but, sometimes you get mental blocks, especially when you're old.
Old? Who's old?
Well, I am a little old.
All right. Let's see, we got another minute. This is in from Parika. And he wants to know what will happen to the existing futures and options contracts and all the related ETFs if the COMEX defaults.
Well, first of all, it's not the CME and the COMEX, it's the players. And the target, of course, is JPM and HSBC and probably GS and Citigroup as well. And I've given you 3 methods of settlement because I don't think they're covering any of their shorts. We'll know a little bit more on Friday, but we'll know what went on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday because they cut it off on Tuesday. Partial default. We'll pay you back in cash 25 or 50 cents in the dollar. And if you don't like that, we'll just go bankrupt and you get nothing. That's the second option, full bankruptcy. Third option is the Fed bails them out. At this price in silver, they got to be offside about $80 billion. But I see no reason why silver won't run back up to $49, $50 again. And perhaps higher. Because if it runs there, there's no resistance up there. They just drew a line in the sand and said, this is where it was before, let's do it. And they manipulated the market. And that's why it's so important you send those letters in to the presidents of the SEC and CFTC the American, the New York, and the over-counter exchanges, and let them know that you know that the government's rigging the market, and you want it stopped. But anyway, that is what could happen and probably will. And we'll have a little indication on Friday for the trading from Tuesday to Tuesday as to how much was covered. If 5,000 or 6,000 contracts were covered, that's not a lot.
So we are at the bottom of the hour. We're going to a short break, and we should be back in just a minute or two. Thank you for joining us.
Every time they were sure that you called, you were quicker than they thought.
Years ahead of the dominant media, FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net, around the world and on satellite.
Record budget deficits, bankruptcies galore, and the U.S. dollar is at an all-time low. With today's gloomy economic outlook, safe investments are often hard to find. For over a decade, Melody Cedarstrom at Discount Gold and Silver Trading Company has been helping people secure their future by investing in the precious metals. Melody has the honesty, integrity, and experience that is often lacking in the precious metals business. Let her put it to work for you. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 800-375-4188. That's 800-375-4188.
Hi, Nicholas here. I used to lug those big jugs to the market to fill with water from those coin-operated filter machines, 25 cents a gallon or 5 gallons for $1. I used to. Then I got the big Berkey. Now I save my back and hundreds of dollars too. I was paying $600 for the same 3,000 gallons of water that a pair of black Berkey filters will provide from my own tap for only $99. This means that your Berkey water system will entirely pay for itself with only 1,500 gallons of use. And then you will still have 1,500 gallons left before you need to replace the filters. Do the math. Stop throwing your money away on bottled water and filter dispensers that may or may not be delivering as promised. For a limited time, First Amendment Radio is offering 10% off on the most popular Berkey water systems. Visit the shopping page at FirstAmendmentRadio.com or call us at 559-781-3773 for more information. Leave your name and address and we'll send you this special offer. Do it now. First Amendment Radio is an authorized distributor of Berkey products. The Greatest Prophecy DVD of Cross the Border Productions. Embrace the little-known but greatest prophecy given by the great high priest. The pre-incarnate Messiah reveals God's once secret plan for mankind. Believe it. Behold, the end times in Daniel chapter 2, because
the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure.
It is the key to prophecy future. Comprehend the 7-year Great Tribulation deception. Be not deceived. Understand the great prophecy delusion, because
if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect.
Be forewarned. America in prophecy, exposed for all to see. The mark of the beast. No, it's not a biochip. A much better and more secure technology is already here, and you are already using it. 2 copies, one for you and one for you to give away when you send a support donation of $25 to First Amendment Radio. Use the chip-in event on our website or send $25 cash to First Amendment Radio, 139 East Tulare Avenue, Tulare, California, 93274. Make copies and give them away. Send $25 cash for 2 copies of the Greatest Prophecy DVD. That's First Amendment Radio, 139 East Tulare Avenue, Tulare, Tulare, California, 93274. A wise man is forewarned and prepares for the time to come. The Greatest Prophecy DVD.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net, around the world and on satellite.
A gambler
And thank you for joining us this afternoon. You're listening to Financial Survival, brought to you by Discount Gold and Silver. I'm Melody Cedarstrom. Our telephone number is 1-800-375-4188. That's 800-375-4188 for all your gold and silver coin needs and your complimentary issue to the International Forecaster. Give us a call. And, Bob, would you like to tell us about the International Forecaster, please?
The forecast is about business, finance, economic, social, and political issues all over the world. We publish on Wednesdays and Saturdays, and it runs around 40 pages each time. We have a hard copy that goes out twice a month for those who are not on the Internet. And everything you need to know every week is in that publication. You can get a free introductory copy by going to theinternationalforecaster.com. theinternationalforecaster.com. You can also go to www.intforecaster.com. That's intforecaster.com. And if you have a question, and we answer everyone, or like a copy, or would like our latest releases on gold and silver shares, just email us, and that address is bob@intforecaster.com. That's Bob, B-O-B, at intforecaster.com, or you can call toll-free at
1-800-375-4188. That's 800-375-4188 for your complimentary issue and all your gold and silver coins here at Discount Gold and Silver. Give us a call, 800-375-4188. Silver, 90% silver. That's beginning to be a little bit of a bargain. That's still readily available. You have 1 ounce rounds. 1 minute they're on, the next minute they're off. So right now we have a hold on rounds. But they are about, if I do get them, they are about 4 weeks out. Silver Eagles, same thing. Things do seem to be flowing a little bit more, but we're a little on the cautious side. We don't want it to be 3 weeks and, tell you 2 and then it's 3. So we are 3 to 4. We don't go any longer than 4. So, folks, if it's taken you 2 months, 3 months, 4 months to get your product, you better be making some phone calls to the Attorney General, because there's no reason it should take you that long. Just the other day I had someone, they were upset at me because my prices were higher than a company in, I believe they're in Washington or Oregon, I can't remember which. Yeah. And I says, but if you get your product within 9 months, you're lucky. So that's what happens when you find really extra low prices. You got to find out, ask yourself why, because usually market prices, you're not going to find any real big differences unless there's, you're dealing with some of these big major ones that do the television advertising and so forth. But when it comes to silver, there's only so much you can really work, mark something up or down. Prices are usually relatively fairly close. Gold is a different story. We got some, I bought some, this is for the unusual buyer. These are not $20 gold pieces, but something a little bit different. These are Mint State 62 $5 Indians. And you know what, Bob? People just don't realize to buy things on a dip. It's like if you owned a bunch of Google and it dropped from 500 to 300, even when the market was going up, you'd probably go in there and buy some shares. You buy on dips. And $20 gold and gold pieces in itself is totally different than, that comparison. But you want to buy on dips. There's reasons for dips in one particular item or another. But for something a little bit different, I have Mint State 62 $5 Indians. $5 Indians, all the Indians were really hot about 4 or 5 years ago. They've actually maintained their value very well over the